Hey guys, the Fire Brothers here. It's just me. My brother couldn't be here today because he's trying to get all 5 Dreadwing mode so he can bring Transformers Prime's Dreadwing back from the dead. It's gonna be a really long and magical adventure, kinda like Dragon Ball. It will probably include a lot of screaming too. Anyways, so these are the jokes. I hope you're enjoying them. For the time being, college isn't having a stranglehold on my throat, so I'm able to produce a few Transformers betas before going back into hibernation. And since someone, I forget who, I'm sorry, but someone requested that I cover this particular concept art from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which includes what I can only describe as Tidal Wave. Well, we're not really sure if this is Tidal Wave, but I mean, come on, this guy is a cruiser. But we're not only going to be looking at this, we're also going to be looking at some other concept art which shows some similar looking Transformers. Now, if you have been around this channel for a long time, you know that I covered a lot of unused Transformers concepts and unused Transformers art. Revenge of the Fallen is a Transformers movie, aside from The Last Night, that has the biggest amount of cut content. That movie, the amount of stuff that was cut from it is ridiculous. And someday I will go in depth as to why the movie is so cut on content as it was. Like, why are we missing so much stuff? Why do we have all this stuff, all this cool stuff in concept art, but we don't have it in the movie? And it's primarily a matter of wrong place, wrong time, and I'll go more into that in a future video. But today we're just gonna be analyzing some artwork. I'm gonna tell you like how this would have been used, like what their plans would have probably been, and some outside information that we got here and there. So now that we're all set, let's get on with it. So the first ocean related artwork that we're gonna take a look at is this one of what I only assume is Tidal Wave. Now I say this is Tidal Wave because, well, in Transformers there's very few characters that transform into an outright ocean battle cruiser. Tidal Wave is the first thing that comes to mind. It could also be any other sea-based Decepticon. It doesn't just have to be Tidal Wave. A very long time ago I covered the concept of Depth Charge, who also had Revenge of the Fallen artwork, and if he had been included in the movie, he would have been the biggest Autobot we have ever seen. And apparently, originally in Revenge of the Fallen there was supposed to be an action scene taking place when Megatron gets revived, or when the Fallen lands on Earth like we actually saw in the movie. But like we all know, that never came to pass, and overall whatever ocean action that we were supposed to get was just cut down in the actual movie. The only thing involving the ocean in Revenge of the Fallen that ever happened was Megatron being revived, and of course the Fallen and the remaining Decepticons landing on the ocean, taking out some of the human military, and that was it. And even that scene was pretty short. Now I theorized before that this was also meant to be the case because of all the concept art, but also in the game itself, Revenge of the Fallen, the game, there was one level set in the ocean where you play as Breakaway, and you were supposed to save a bunch of humans and push back the Decepticons. So my guess is that originally in this scene, the ocean scene, when Megatron gets revived, or maybe when the Fallen gets on there, the Autobots are gonna send a few soldiers to intercept them. Probably Depth Charge, Springer, and Breakaway, because those are the only Autobots that will be the most useful during this scene right now. So Tidal Wave here was probably one of the Decepticons that was meant to like crash land on Earth along with the other Decepticons, and he was gonna engage into a small fight with Depth Charge, Springer, and Breakaway. Here we see in the artwork he's actually being shot at by a couple of missiles. And much in keeping with the whole Bayverse aesthetic, the Decepticons look weird. Like, they have this very weird insect-like design. As you guys can see, his face, he has like those multiple eyes that stand out for the Decepticons. He has the, oh god, hentai tentacles! And he's massive. We're not even seeing his full body. This is only half of him. There's more submerged. And if you guys can see at the bottom right, you can see that there's a larger structure. Like, there's more of him at the bottom of the ocean. So this guy was massive. But Tidal Wave over here, I like the concept, but I don't think this guy should be called Tidal Wave. We don't know if this is what's meant to be Tidal Wave. All we know is that this guy's a Decepticon and that he's like, you know, fighting the humans in the ocean. Personally, if this guy were to have been added into the movie, I think he should have been a nameless Decepticon. Either that or a brand new OC original character by Michael Bay like Nitro Zeus and Mohawk. I don't know, name him Tentacle something and bam, you're done. I like this guy, but only for this one action scene. I feel like he would have landed on Earth with the Decepticons, he would have gotten in a small fight with Springer, Breakaway, and Depth Charge, and then he would have gotten killed by them, because there's no way this guy will make it to the final battle. Like, we already have way too much stuff going on, especially with Devastator, so this guy would have died right here and there, and probably the rest of the Autobots would have been killed by the Fallen, which I know some people don't like seeing Autobots dying, but I would have made the Fallen more dangerous because he barely did anything in the movie. At least this would have given him a small action scene. Another interesting artwork is this one that you guys have probably seen before. Now this isn't really Tidal or the guy from before. This is actually the Fallen. Yes, this is actually an early look for the Fallen. So when he lands on Earth, and more specifically when he lands on one of the human ship carriers, he was gonna also scan the ship and transform. It's a bit hard to tell if he has scanned one of the human vehicles, one of the human ships, because he's standing on top of a cruiser. So my guess is that he didn't scan the same ship that we saw Tidal Wave attacking in the last concept art. My guess is that here he scanned a smaller ship, kind of like Depth Charge didn't scan a cruiser, but you know, scan a smaller warship. He probably did the same thing. It's just how he looks like. As you guys can see, if you look at his body closely, he has those missing gaps, those holes in his body, something that the Fallen in the final look of the film also had. So they have that similarity going on. His face is also kind of similar. He has those sharp, that sharp beard kind of look, a little bit of it. It's a bit hard to tell, but you can definitely tell that he has scanned some kind of human vehicle mode, like a human ship, because A, he's massive, and 2, you can see there are lights and some human vehicle parts here and there. Honestly, I really like this design. We don't see a lot of Transformers turn into actual ships that can be used and, you know, float into waters. Typically it's just, you know, airplanes, cars, vans, trucks, monster trucks, and so on. This is actually something I would have liked to see on the film itself. Now here we see another look at what I can only assume is another version of Tidal Wave. This guy looks huge, and here we have a better look at what he is. He looks like a giant freaking ship. Kinda reminds me of Lockdown Ship a little. Only a little. As you guys can tell, this is most likely a Decepticon because the human is kind of rushing to like get to the airplane to like go and fight it. It's really hard to tell what it is, honestly. It looks like one of those ships from Battleship, that awful movie that never went anywhere. It looks exactly like one of those, you know, they would jump out of the water and move somewhere else. It reminds me a whole lot of that. And there's another complaint that I usually have with the movie designs, that sometimes they look so alien that you don't know what you're looking at. This looks so alien, I have no idea what this is, except that it's some kind of ship and it has like the engines that's pushing it, you know, up into the air. Originally I was thinking that this is probably the vehicle mode for that Decepticon that was attacking the cruiser, you know, the one with the tentacles. But this artwork was actually made by a different artist, so this was his vision of what that Decepticon was probably supposed to look like, or what was supposed to happen in, you know, the Fallen Arrives on Earth scene. Now we're gonna move on to something a bit more understandable. So we got this concept art called Nuclear Assault. Now, we see what I can only describe as an early version of the Driller, but except it's aquatic. At least here I can tell that this is actually supposed to be a giant worm. He has those tentacles. Oh god, I'm gonna get tons of tentacle comments in the comments down below today. Oh brother. Now it's a bit hard to tell. Now I think this is actually supposed to be the Decepticon that we saw in the first artwork, the one with the tentacles, because, well, it has tentacles! It's very similar. We don't have a real clear look at him, but he has that sea serpent kind of look, and in the first artwork you can see that one Decepticon had a larger part of him, you know, under the ocean. Like, he was kind of like a sea snake or whatever, and this right here has a similar kind of look, especially if you look at the body. You know, it's very sort of smooth-ish, at least the bottom part is. So maybe Tidal Wave, or whatever that Decepticon was in the first artwork, was supposed to turn into this. You know, that would be kind of like his beast mode, another version of the Driller. But that's not just it. We also have this artwork right here. This one's called Decepticon Submarine. And this thing is the stuff of nightmares. It reminds me of like Devastator's whole Driller thing, like where he sucks. I use tentacle and sucks on the same video. when, you know, he uses his whole vacuum cleaner thing. This stuff looks like the stuff of nightmares, I'm not gonna lie. This actually looks like a pretty scary Decepticon. I'm so glad this was cut from the film. I'm not sure if this is related to the last concept art I covered with, you know, the weird serpent thing and the submarine. I think this is like an early version of like what Tidal Wave was supposed to be. It's... Again, I mean, I know what this is. It's a weird, you know, nightmare-fueled Decepticon, but at the same time, is this supposed to be Tidal Wave? Is this like, what am I looking at here exactly? Now, this is a submarine, so I'm guessing that this was meant to appear when Megatron gets revived by the other Decepticons, because when the Fallen lands on the Earth and he attacks the human military, we don't see a single submarine. At least I don't think we do. If we do, I'll probably put it on the screen or something, but I'm pretty sure we don't. So the only place where this would have been logical to see would have been when the Decepticons are reviving Megatron. Maybe the humans tried to stop them, because we did saw a submarine in the area when the Decepticons were trying to revive Megatron. So maybe all the Decepticons were meant to join and kind of, you know, take care of the submarines so they don't disrupt the Megatron repairing process. Just a thought. But if this video wasn't cursed enough, we have more weird concept art for Revenge of the Fallen. Here we have another look at the Decepticon submarine. It's the same character, and yes, my theory was correct. This thing was meant to destroy all the human submarines that were in the area, to disrupt the Megatron rebirthing process. Here, he opens his mouth even more, and I'm getting creeped out even more. We also see that he has a very long serpent-like body. So this sort of leads me to believe that the robot mode that we saw at the beginning, the Decepticon that we saw at the beginning, was actually this submarine. So this Decepticon was gonna have a robot mode, a submarine mode, and a serpent mode apparently. So this guy would have been like a triple changer, well, a quadruple changer if you include this weird opening up of the mouth and like with all the razor sharp teeth. This is really tapping onto my deepest fears of the ocean. So at least the artwork did its job by making me feel very uncomfortable just looking at this. But yeah guys, that's the story of Tidal Wave, or the Ocean Bots. I'm not even sure what I'm gonna title this video because these guys are unconfirmed. All we know is that they exist and that they were meant to appear in the movie. Because, you know, in the game we had a whole action scene that taking place in the ocean. The toys have a few ocean-based Autobots and Decepticons. So an ocean fight scene was meant to occur, and this guy was at least at the very beginning stages planned out to be in the movie. Transforms into a submarine, transforms into a weird tentacle serpent, transforms into a nightmare fuel version of the Driller, and he has the weird robot mode, very long tentacle thing, tentacle arms. With a guy this big, I'm guessing that he was cut pretty early in development. Maybe they decided to, instead of keep this guy, maybe to replace him with Devastator, which I personally believe that is probably the most likely / reasonable thing to assume, because in their interviews the producer team basically stated that making Devastator was a challenge because he was so big and there was so much data and information that it almost crashed their rendering software. So having 2 talents on the film would have been way too much in my opinion. He was probably cut pretty early on, and once he was cut and the whole ocean thing was scrapped, characters like Depth Charge, Springer, and Breakaway were also cut as well because they were not needed. Their one scene where they were supposed to shine and take this guy down was cut, and it would have probably meant less if they would have just, you know, fought against a bunch of regular Decepticons for no reason. And also I think that the movie actually did a good job, I can't believe I'm saying that, at portraying the Decepticons simply, you know, squander the human resistance and showing them, you know, basically being in charge and basically turning the tides on the Autobots and the humans. So this guy being there would have been overkill, and frankly I think the movie did a good job. Oh god, I'm gonna get those comments, so people disagreeing with me in the comments down below. Oh, fire! Revenge of the Fallen was awful. This guy should have totally made it the movie. It never stops. But yeah guys, that's it for this video. Question of the day for you all is, what do you think of Tidal Wave here? Do you like him? Do you not like him? I know a lot of people are not gonna like this guy just because he doesn't look like his G1 or Armada counterpart. I think Tidal Wave was an Armada character. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. But the Armada look is the look that most people associate with Tidal Wave, so I'm gonna go with that. I would have liked to see this guy in the film just because he looks so scary and weird. But at the same time, does it really make a difference in the film if we get this guy for that one, scene, and then we just get the Autobots show up and kill him and then they get killed by the Fallen? I don't think it would have made a difference. I don't think it matters. That's one of the scenes that you can actually cut and nothing will change. So if you have a pointless scene in the film, you should get rid of it. Well, Revenge of the Fallen has tons of, pointless human scenes, so maybe you could cut a lot of them and just have this one action scene replaced it. Just for a spectacle alone, I guess. It could have shown how powerful and how scary the Decepticons can be, if they can just simply take down a whole fleet of US Navy warships. But hey, that's a debate you can have by yourselves in the comments down below, because I already said my piece. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Watch out for the tentacles! But anyways guys, before we go, shout out to our patrons, TrueBlue712, Stitch Productions, Stephanie Bowler, Kristopher Prime, Frederick Hunter Plays, Mario Gordon, and the absolute madman himself, Jordan the Great, who donated $100. Thanks a lot to you guys. I tip my fedora in gratitude. A link to their channels and our Patreon are gonna be in the description and in the comments down below. Make sure to go check out their channels. Some of these guys do pretty cool content, and if you guys want to shout out your subs, all you have to do is donate to our Patreon. By donating to our Patreon, you get quite a few rewards. You can collab with me in some of my videos, you get exclusive roles on my Discord server, you can request your own videos, maybe even appear in some of my videos if you so choose, and I'm adding more rewards as time goes on. So yeah, it's a pretty good deal. But keep in mind that it is completely optional, because freedom is the right of all sentient beings. So yeah, thank you guys for donating, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.